Hey guys, wanted to share some kind of interesting research I came across over the last couple weeks. A lot of stuff that we already knew or suspected, but this was studied with a large group of people, and I'm going to try to find links to the actual studies for those of you who are nerds like me and like this stuff. But in a nutshell, they looked at a bunch of people that did what most people consider cardio or aerobic training, which would be jogging or low intensity cardio, so bike cycling or fast walking and things of that nature. They studied them from 3 hours a week to 6 hours a week. Ultimately, they had a group of people doing it for an hour a day for a week, and over a course of a year, the people lost about 3 pounds of fat over a year. So that was obviously not a very effective way to lose fat. They also looked at a group that did kind of traditional cardio stuff, and then another group that did metabolic strength training. So some of you guys that are training with me, the kind of use of heavy weights and weight training to get the heart rate up and burn fat. So the calories burned for the traditional cardio group was like twice as high as the strength training group. Now, the interesting thing was the cardio group, however, lost a certain percentage of fat, very, very little percentage of fat. The metabolic strength training group lost like 10 times the amount of fat, even though the calories burned were less. So what that tells us is the calorie burning thing is bullshit, which I think we all know by looking at, I can't tell you how many people have told me they burn, 1,000 calories a day according to their Fitbit or whatever tracking bullshit they use in a boot camp or in a spin class or whatever, and yet they haven't lost a pound like ever. So if you're burning that many calories and the calorie equation thing worked, all those people would be pretty ripped. So little bit of math science here, but it kind of will make sense, I think. So have you ever known anybody, or even yourself, who has lost 10, 15, 20 pounds, but they like kind of look the same? So I've had a ton of people over the years that I see, and they'll be like, hey, I lost 15 pounds, I lost 20 pounds, and I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, I can barely tell the difference. Maybe they're a little smaller. They're definitely not leaner. They're just as fat as they were before, but they're just maybe a little bit smaller version of the same person. That person has usually lost their 15 to 20 pounds by just dieting, like calorie restriction or going vegetarian or whatever, or by doing a ton of jogging or something like that. But their body really hasn't changed. Other hand, I've seen people through strength training who have barely changed their weight. Their scale weight might be 5 pounds different or even the same, or even up a couple pounds, but they look totally different, way leaner, way different body shape, down a size or two. How do you explain that? So it's really simple. The dieting only or cardio dieting group basically loses most of their weight in muscle and retains fat. The strength training group loses the majority of their weight in fat, maintains the muscle, and or increases muscle. Okay, so totally different dynamic, totally different body at the end of it. So if you were to look at, let's just make the numbers even. 100-pound person, 30% body fat. So we have 70 pounds of lean muscle, 30 pounds of fat. That person runs and diets and loses 10 pounds, but it's all muscle. So the person is now 90 pounds, but they still have 30 pounds of fat on them, right? So with 30 pounds of fat on a 100-pound person, that's 30% fat. 30 pounds of fat on a 90-pound person is, let's call it 35% fat. I don't know what the number is, but it's a higher percentage of their body is fat than it was before. So this person is actually technically fatter, even though they're 10 pounds lighter. That's awful. So they're actually going to kind of look worse and feel worse. So take the other person that's strength training, 100 pounds to start with, 30 pounds of fat, 70 pounds of muscle. They actually add, let's say, 10 pounds of muscle. So they are now 110 pounds, 30 pounds of fat. Their percentage of body fat is lower because 30% of 110 is less than 30% of 100. Now, let's say that person has simultaneously lost 10 pounds of fat. So now they're still 100 pounds, but they are 20 pounds of fat, 80 pounds of lean muscle. That is a 20% body fat compared to a 30% body fat. Huge difference. So now that person is looking at muscle tone, looking at a nice shapely figure, and they still weigh exactly the same. So anyway, that should explain why myself and those who kind of believe what I believe, encourage strength, 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 and eating right. And, obviously some cardio conditioning, as you guys know, jump rope, kettlebell ropes, so forth. We definitely want that heart rate up, that heart strong, and to be in shape to do what we need to do. But from a traditional cardio aerobic standpoint, not a fan, just because it's not effective. So hope that kind of explains some of the scale, body fat, lean muscle relationship, and why many of you have completely changed your bodies, but maybe not that much on the scale, and also why it's not a good idea to just go on a diet without strength training. You have to strength train on a diet to maintain and or build muscle mass so you can actually get leaner, not just smaller. Woo! That's Mr. Muscle Science for the day. See ya.